When you think of gospel music, you probably picture church choirs, uplifting hymns, and messages of faith and redemption. But behind the angelic voices and inspirational lyrics lies a world filled with scandal, secrets, and controversies that have shaken the foundations of Christian music. From sexual misconduct and domestic violence to coming-out stories that divided congregations, these 12 gospel artists sparked debates that went far beyond their music. Here are 12 shocking stories about the most controversial gospel artists of all time: Michael Tate and the Newsboys scandal. In 2025, the contemporary Christian music world was rocked by allegations that shattered decades of trust. Michael Tate, the lead singer of the massively popular group Newsboys, faced accusations from multiple men claiming he sexually assaulted them over many years. The allegations included incidents going back decades, with some accusers stating they were minors when the abuse began. According to reports that emerged in June of 2025, the abuse allegedly occurred during what the industry calls road pastor tours, supposedly designed to provide spiritual guidance. What made this scandal particularly devastating was how many people reportedly knew. Corey Asbury, known for his song "Reckless Love," stated that everyone knew something was happening behind the scenes at Newsboys. The band's management had even brought in accountability structures like road pastors, but as Skillet frontman John Cooper pointed out to Christianity Today, if you're not committed to living in truth, you can just lie to everyone around you. The scandal exposed a troubling pattern in Christian music where the industry lacks reliable ways to check artists' behavior. Several high-profile artists called for industry-wide reform, but the damage to Newsboys was immediate and severe. K-Love, the largest Christian music radio chain in the nation, announced they were pulling all music by DC Talk and Newsboys from rotation. Even secular artist Hayley Williams of Paramore, who grew up around Nashville's Christian music community, reacted with anger, saying she hoped the contemporary Christian music industry would crumble. Amy Grant, divorce and the evangelical backlash. For 2 decades, Amy Grant was gospel music royalty. The queen of Christian pop sold more than 30 million albums worldwide, won 6 Grammy Awards, and became the first Christian artist to have an album go platinum. But in 1999, when Grant filed for divorce from fellow Christian musician Gary Chapman after 16 years of marriage, the evangelical world turned on her with shocking ferocity. The backlash wasn't just criticism, it was a coordinated campaign of shaming. Christian radio stations pulled her music from rotation, her CDs disappeared from store shelves. According to multiple accounts, Gary Chapman had struggled with cocaine use, and the marriage had been rocky from the beginning, with years of counseling and what was described as a lengthy state of separation under the same roof. Grant had reportedly asked Chapman for a divorce repeatedly before he finally agreed, telling him she believed she had been released from the marriage. But the evangelical community didn't want explanations. They wanted contrition. In 2002, CCM magazine sent reporter Matthew Paul Turner to interview Grant with an editor's ultimatum that if she didn't make a public apology, she wouldn't appear in the magazine. Grant refused to play the role of the shamed woman. She mobilized her reputation and resources to ride out the storm, careful in interviews, but never quite apologizing in the way her critics demanded. She described her marriage's end as personal failure, but wouldn't go further. That wasn't enough for many evangelicals. What the religion cared about was the rules about divorce. Then, a year after her divorce was finalized, Grant married country music singer Vince Gill, and the fury intensified all over again. The double standard was glaring. If Amy Grant had been a man in the Christian music industry, she likely would have been forgiven before the ink dried on the divorce papers. Instead, she was expected to hold the marriage together no matter what, to prioritize faith over her mental health and dignity. Yet Grant didn't disappear. She kept releasing music, kept showing up, and eventually won a Kennedy Center honor. In 2022, she received a GLAAD Media Award for her support of LGBTQ fans after hosting her niece's same-sex wedding at the family farm, which sparked another round of conservative outrage. Grant's story isn't one of scandal, it's a blueprint for surviving a culture that demands perfection from women while extending grace to men. Kirk Franklin, revolutionizing gospel or destroying it. No artist in gospel music history has been more polarizing than Kirk Franklin. Since bursting onto the scene in the 1990s with his group The Family, Franklin has faced constant accusations of being too worldly, too secular, and too willing to compromise the gospel message. His 1997 hit, Stomp, featuring Salt from Salt and Peppa, became a cultural phenomenon, going triple platinum and crossing over to mainstream success. But critics claimed it was a worldly song from the pit of hell, erroneously stamped Christian. The accompanying music video featured sensual gyrations and body movements that bore no resemblance to authentic Christianity in the eyes of traditionalists. The controversies never stopped. In 2021, Franklin's oldest son, Carrion, released an audio recording of a private conversation where Franklin could be heard speaking in what many described as an ungodly manner. Critics seized on the moment as proof that Franklin was a hypocrite. His stage performances, which some described as bordering on twerking and gyrating, left traditional gospel fans shaking their heads in disapproval. But Franklin's most recent controversies involve his willingness to work with secular and controversial artists. His collaboration with Will Smith at the 2024 BET Awards, just 2 years after Smith's Oscar slap incident, drew fierce criticism. His appearance on Glorilla's song Rain Down on Me, alongside other gospel artists, sparked debates about whether gospel artists should collaborate with secular musicians whose other work contains explicit content. In Kenya, Christian author Winnie Thuku Craig warned believers against attending Franklin's concerts, accusing him of sitting through Grammy ceremonies where Christ was mocked and then still performing on the same platform. For Franklin's supporters, he's simply meeting people where they are and bringing the gospel to broader audiences. For his detractors, he's erasing the line between the church and the world. What's undeniable is that Kirk Franklin changed gospel music forever, and the debates about whether that change was for better or worse continue to rage more than 30 years later. B.B. Winans. The domestic violence allegations. In March of 2009, gospel superstar B.B. Winans was arrested and briefly jailed on charges of domestic assault after his ex-wife Deborah accused him of pushing her to the ground in front of their children during an argument about custody issues. The arrest sent shockwaves through the gospel community. This was B.B. Winans, one half of the legendary duo B.B. and C.C. Winans, a man who had won 4 Grammy Awards and whose music had been a soundtrack to countless worship services. The fallout was swift. Oprah Winfrey, who had a long-standing friendship with the Winans family, removed B.B. from her show's karaoke challenge until the charges were resolved. Deborah Winans publicly thanked Oprah for taking a stand against domestic violence, but B.B. maintained his innocence throughout the ordeal. According to his attorney, a judge had issued an order of protection in favor of B.B. against Deborah, and specifically stated from the bench that Deborah was not found to be a credible witness. B.B. chose to remain silent about the accusations, later explaining that he had made a promise to his children that he would never say anything bad about their mother. His silence, however, led many to presume his guilt. In December of 2009, Judge Gloria Dumas dismissed all charges with prejudice, meaning the case could not be reopened. The judge reportedly looked at the court reporter and said to put in the records that the woman was a liar. B.B. was exonerated, but the damage to his reputation lingered. In later interviews, he explained that holding his peace while being accused was one of the hardest things he'd ever done, but he felt it was what God wanted him to do. The case highlighted a troubling reality that even when charges are dismissed and innocence is proven, the court of public opinion doesn't always render the same verdict. For B.B. Winans, the accusations became part of his story, a stain that some fans could never quite forget. Marvin Sapp, Closing the Doors. Until the Money Comes In, March of 2025, a video from July 2024 suddenly went viral, and gospel singer Marvin Sapp found himself at the center of a social media firestorm. In the clip from the Pentecostal Assemblies of the World Convention in Baltimore, Sapp can be heard instructing ushers to close the doors while he challenged the 1,000 people in attendance to each donate $20 for a total of $40,000. The optics were terrible. Social media users accused Sapp of holding the congregation hostage and claimed they would have refused to pay. The phrase, "close the doors," became a meme, with people joking about their car doors not unlocking when Sapp's music came on their radio. Sapp defended himself, explaining that the doors were closed to reduce noise from vendors outside the sanctuary and to ensure a safe, focused environment during the offering collection. He pointed out that the money wasn't for him personally, but for the conference budget, and that, as the assigned ministerial gift, it was his responsibility to help raise funds. He even cited Bible scripture to justify challenging people to give specific amounts. But the damage was done. Sapp revealed that his church received death threats, with people calling and cussing out his staff. The threats were so vile and filled with racial slurs that security at his Fort Worth church had to be increased. Police presence was added to Sunday services. On the Ricky Smiley Morning Show, Sapp admitted that looking at the video, maybe he was a little more assertive than he should have been. But he emphasized that the clickbait narrative being spread was incomplete and dangerous to his family's safety. The controversy sparked a broader conversation about transparency in church giving and high-pressure fundraising tactics. Some defended Sapp as simply doing his job, while others saw it as an example of financial coercion dressed up as faith. The incident became a case study in how social media's speed leaves no room for nuance and spreads dangerous misinformation, but it also forced uncomfortable questions about the intersection of ministry and money in the modern church. Donnie McClurkin, sexual abuse allegations. In January of 2026, Grammy-winning gospel singer and pastor Donnie McClurkin faced devastating allegations. Giuseppe Corletto filed a lawsuit claiming that McClurkin sexually abused him over several years, beginning when Corletto was 21 and struggling to reconcile his sexuality with his faith. Corletto had read McClurkin's autobiographical book about overcoming what McClurkin called the curse of homosexuality and sought out the pastor for guidance at his Long Island church. According to the lawsuit, what began as mentoring soon became manipulation and abuse. McClurkin allegedly began to molest Corletto during Pray the Gay Away spiritual sessions. Corletto worked as McClurkin's assistant and regularly traveled with him, and the lawsuit claims the abuse continued from 2007 to as recently as 2015. Court documents allege that McClurkin would compare Corletto to Elijah and Elisha to manipulate and convince him that he needed him. When Corletto tried to quit, McClurkin allegedly refused, claiming his deliverance and purpose depended on him. The lawsuit includes an apology email that McClurkin reportedly sent after an incident in Niagara Falls in 2013, in which he allegedly declared himself a dirty old man. McClurkin's path to stardom had been paved in part by Oprah Winfrey, who in 1996 declared his self-titled album as one of her favorite things. He performed at the Republican National Convention in 2004 and appeared at a gospel event for Barack Obama's presidential campaign in 2007, though Obama issued a statement saying he strongly disagreed with McClurkin's views on homosexuality. The allegations against McClurkin were particularly stunning, given his long public stance on overcoming homosexuality through faith. In his 2001 book, Eternal Victim, Eternal Victor, McClurkin wrote that an uncle sexually abused him when he was 8, which he believed caused his homosexuality, and that reading scripture helped him overcome the struggle. The lawsuit's emergence raised troubling questions about whether McClurkin's claimed deliverance was genuine or if it masked decades of secret predatory behavior. Ray Boltz, the Christian star, who came out in September of 2008, contemporary Christian music star Ray Boltz shocked the gospel world by coming out as gay in an interview with the Washington Blade. For nearly 20 years, Boltz had been a household name in Christian circles, best known for his song "Thank You," which had become a staple at Christian funerals. He had won 3 Dove Awards from the Gospel Music Association, earned multiple RIAA Gold-certified albums, and sold more than 4 million units. He had been married to his wife Carol for 33 years and had 4 grown children. But Boltz revealed that he had been attracted to other men since he was young. He had denied it ever since he was a kid and thought becoming a Christian was the way to deal with it. He prayed hard and tried for 30-some years, he told The Blade, and then at the end, he was just going, "I'm still gay." He couldn't take it anymore. By 2004, Bolts had disclosed his sexuality to his wife and children, retired from his music career, and quietly moved to South Florida to start dating. His divorce was finalized in 2008, the same year he went public. The reaction from the Christian community was swift and divided. Many felt betrayed and saw his decision as proof that Christianity doesn't offer the power to overcome sin. Others called for compassion and prayer. The Gospel Music Association told the Washington Blade that they do not comment on the lifestyle choices of people in their community, a statement some interpreted as enabling behavior inconsistent with the gospel. Bolts said he felt closer to God since coming out because he no longer hated himself. He insisted that if this is the way God made him, then this is the way he's going to live. The backlash was severe. Christian publications made it clear they did not support his decision, though most avoided openly attacking him. Radio stations stopped playing his music. Many former fans felt betrayed after years of being inspired by his songs of faith. Bolts released an album in 2010 called True, which tackled topics like Don't Tell Me Who to Love and featured songs about hate crimes and conservative politics. He later married his husband and retired to Florida. For the Christian music industry, Ray Boltz's coming out represented a watershed moment, forcing uncomfortable conversations about sexuality, faith, and whether someone could be both gay and Christian. Tonex to B. Slade, the gospel artist who became an activist. Few artists have traveled a more dramatic path than Tonex, now known as B. Slade, born Anthony Charles Williams II. In 1975, Tonex grew up in a deeply religious home in San Diego. His father was a senior pastor and his mother was a minister. By the time he was a teenager, Tonex had become one of the most innovative voices in contemporary gospel, blending hip-hop production with traditional gospel in ways that captivated young audiences. His 2005 double album, Out the Box, earned him 6 Stellar Awards and widespread acclaim. His music videos featured him in edgy hip-hop gear, a Prince-like wig, and dancing like Janet Jackson. But behind the success was turmoil. Tonex was dealing with the dissolution of his marriage and an identity crisis. In 2009, he confirmed suspicions about his sexually ambiguous image by coming out as gay on a nationally aired TV show, reportedly becoming one of the first well-known openly gay gospel artists. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Gospel legend Donnie McClurkin called Tonex a perversion and said he must pray away the gay, railing against what he called broken and feminine young men at a Church of God in Christ Youth Conference in Memphis. The conservative gospel arena attacked Tonex for earlier controversies, including a song called The Naked Truth, where he used explicit language and referenced being touched by a preacher when he was 6 years old. In 2010, Tonex officially retired his Christian artist brand and rebranded himself as B. Slade, becoming a recording activist focused on LGBTQ advocacy. The name change was inspired by the character Brian Slade from the art film Velvet Goldmine. He released a song called Conversation, recorded to the instrumental of Beyoncé's Formation, in which he slammed members of the black church who shamed him for being gay. The lyrics called out hypocrisy, rapping about altos sleeping with the drummer and then being back at the altar, and pastors trying to get his number in the lobby right after service. Though he faced resistance from his former conservative gospel fans, his newfound transparency helped him carve a niche in the LGBT music scene. He performed at LGBTQ pride parades, waving rainbow-striped flags, a far cry from his days testifying in church circles. His story illustrates the gospel music industry's long history of open secrets about gender and sexuality and the severe cost artists pay when they stop living in the closet. James Fortune, from chart topper to convicted abuser. James Fortune was a rising star in gospel music. A Grammy-nominated artist and popular radio host, he had released hit songs like I Trust You that topped Billboard charts. His albums had earned him ASCAP awards and widespread recognition. But in October of 2014, Fortune's career came to a crashing halt when he was arrested for aggravated assault against his wife Cheryl, who was also one of his backup singers. According to police reports, Cheryl was admitted to the emergency room with apparent broken bones and possible internal injuries. Witnesses said Fortune had struck her with a wooden vanity stool, kicked her, and threw her against a wall inside their home in Stafford, Texas. The couple's 3 young children were present during the incident. In March of 2016, Fortune pleaded guilty to assault on a family member with a prior conviction, a third-degree felony. He was sentenced to 5 years of probation, 5 days in jail, and 175 hours of community service. He also had to complete a batterer's intervention program and was ordered to have no contact with Cheryl for 5 years. Fortune decided to enter the plea after realizing his children, ages 9, 10, and 11, might be called to testify at trial. What made Fortune's case even more disturbing was that this wasn't his first offense. In 2002, he had pleaded guilty to felony injury to a child for burning his 4-year-old stepson with hot water, leaving the boy disfigured with severe burns over nearly 50% of his body. A civil lawsuit charged that Fortune had scolded the toddler for misbehaving at preschool, put him in timeout, and continued to yell and berate the child before the burning occurred. He received 6 years of deferred adjudication in that case. In interviews after his conviction, Fortune spoke candidly about his actions. He revealed that at his lowest point, he had contemplated taking a whole bottle of Xanax, but was saved by a worship conference organized by Tasha Cobbs. He admitted he was an abuser and that domestic violence involved 18 forms of abuse, not just physical violence. He had perpetrated intimidation and other forms of control. Fortune apologized to his wife and family, though he and Cheryl moved forward with divorce and were legally separated. The gospel community's response was mixed. Some church leaders, like Reverend Jamal Bryant, denounced domestic violence and called for the church to stop being silent. Others quietly welcomed Fortune back, booking him for concerts even while his case was pending. His story highlighted an uncomfortable truth that domestic violence exists within the church, even among spiritual leaders, and that the community often struggles with how to balance accountability with forgiveness. Andraé Crouch. When the father of modern gospel worked with Madonna, Andraé Crouch is often called the father of modern gospel music. His compositions like "The Blood Will Never Lose Its Power," "My Tribute," and "Soon and Very Soon" are sung in churches worldwide. He won 7 Grammy Awards, received an Oscar nomination for his work on The Color Purple, and was inducted into the Gospel Music Hall of Fame in 1998. But throughout his career, Crouch generated controversy by refusing to recognize the lines between sacred and secular music. His willingness to collaborate with mainstream artists raised eyebrows in conservative religious circles. In 1987, the Andraé Crouch Choir sang background vocals on Michael Jackson's hit single "Man in the Mirror" from the Bad album. The collaboration was unprecedented, a gospel legend working on a pop album. Critics questioned whether a gospel artist should be involved in a pop song with potentially different messages. Crouch defended his decision, stating that he saw it as an opportunity to share a positive message of change and self-reflection with a wider audience. But the collaborations didn't stop there. Crouch went on to work with Madonna, providing arrangements for her song "Like a Prayer." He also collaborated with Quincy Jones, Diana Ross, Elton John, and other mainstream superstars. For gospel purists, this was sacrilege. How could someone who sang about Jesus work with artists who represented everything the church stood against? Crouch also generated controversy within his own denomination. In 1998, against the Church of God, in Christ's resistance to female pastors, he made his twin sister Sandra co-pastor of his church. The move was seen as radical and defiant of church doctrine. Critics called Crouch an opinionated musical genius with a flair for attracting controversy. During a time of deep social unrest around racial integration and civil rights, Crouch had blazed new trails with his multi-ethnic band, The Disciples, bringing funky urban musical elements to white audiences and epic choruses to the black church. He tapped deeply into rock and roll, soul, traditional gospel, European hymnody, pop, disco, and folk, finding the common root they all shared. For Crouch's defenders, he was simply ahead of his time, an innovator who understood that music could be a bridge between worlds. His collaborations brought gospel music to millions who would never have heard it otherwise. For his critics, he compromised the gospel message by associating with secular artists and sounds. Crouch died in 2015 at age 72, and his legacy remains complex. President Obama celebrated him as the leading pioneer of contemporary gospel music, while others still debate whether his boundary crossing was vision or betrayal. Derek Webb at the Dove Awards in Address in 2023, the Dove Awards, gospel music's most prestigious ceremony, became the site of a shocking statement. Derek Webb, a former contemporary Christian music artist from the group Caedmon's Call, attended the 54th annual ceremony wearing a dress. He was accompanied by openly queer Christian artist Semler and drag queen Flamy Grant, whose real name is Matthew Blake and who was formerly a worship leader. Webb posted a picture of the trio on social media with the caption, "54th Annual Dove Awards, here we come." The photo ignited a firestorm. Skillet frontman John Cooper, one of the most outspoken voices in Christian rock, did not hold back his criticism. He posted a series of pointed questions asking whether love for Christ and being about the Father's business demanded silence from Christian artists when confronted with such displays. He asked if people attended the Dove Awards dressed in KKK hoods would love demand silence. What about blackface? What if artists began promoting "Shout Your Abortion" or praising the killing of the unborn as an act of love? Cooper's point was clear. There are lines that cannot be crossed, and for him, Webb's appearance at the Dove Awards crossed them. Cooper stated that to tolerate evil, to relativize sexual immorality, and make the gospel nothing more than treating people nicely, was a fake gospel ineffectual to save. Other leaders in the contemporary Christian music industry took issue with Cooper's comments, calling him out for his alleged lack of love. The debate highlighted a deepening divide within Christian music about how to respond to LGBTQ artists and allies. Webb, who had turned away from the faith and partnered with Flamy Grant, was no longer creating Christian music. Flamy Grant's music had hit #1 on iTunes for Christian music in 2022, a fact that shocked and angered many traditional believers. Semler, meanwhile, openly identified as queer while still claiming to be Christian. For Cooper and those who agreed with him, this was an assault on biblical truth. The gospel of grace did not mean embracing sin or pretending that lifestyle choices contrary to Scripture were acceptable. For Webb's defenders, his appearance was a statement of inclusion and acceptance, a challenge to the Christian music industry to be more welcoming of LGBTQ individuals. The controversy became a flashpoint in the larger cultural battle over sexuality and faith, with the Dove Awards serving as an unlikely battlefield. The incident left many wondering whether contemporary Christian music could survive its internal divisions or if it would fracture into competing camps, each claiming to represent the true gospel. The Michael W. Smith silence. Sometimes the most controversial thing a gospel artist can do is remain silent. Michael W. Smith, one of the biggest names in contemporary Christian music with multiple platinum albums and Grammy Awards, has largely avoided the scandals that have plagued many of his peers. But his friendship with celebrities and his crossover success have occasionally put him in uncomfortable positions. Smith was close friends with Andraé Crouch and worked with him on multiple projects. He counted both gospel and mainstream artists among his circle. When controversies erupted around artists he knew, Smith often chose not to comment publicly, a decision that frustrated some fans who wanted clearer moral leadership. Smith's silence became particularly noticeable when fellow contemporary Christian music artists like Ray Boltz came out as gay or when controversies erupted at events he attended. Critics argued that major figures like Smith had a responsibility to speak out, to provide clarity and direction for younger believers who looked up to them. His defenders countered that Smith's ministry was his music and that he didn't need to weigh in on every controversy to be effective. The tension illustrated a broader question. What is the role of gospel artists in moral and cultural debates? Are they meant to be prophets who speak truth to culture, or are they artists whose primary job is to create music that glorifies God? Smith's career has remained largely untarnished by scandal, but his reluctance to engage in the culture wars has made him a target for critics on both sides. Progressives see him as complicit in conservative Christian culture, while traditionalists wish he would be more outspoken in defending biblical values. His silence, in its own way, has become controversial, a reminder that in the gospel music world, choosing not to take a stand can be just as divisive as taking one.